So Martin Luther King made several points in the letter from Birmingham Jail, but all tie back to his argument that disobedience and protest are necessary, and even lawbreaking is necessary when we're faced with what he would define as unjust laws. Just laws, he said, are to be followed, but unjust laws, they lack moral force. Um, he defined those laws as laws or rules that impede human potential, laws that often were applied unfairly. Sometimes the law on its face might seem just, as with the parade ordinance that he violated, which caused him to go to jail in Birmingham. That law was being applied unfairly. He was being asked to meet a higher threshold of documentation, and than others who might parade, who might march in the streets of Birmingham. So he was being denied because of that. He was being denied in cases that in which others might have had their permits approved. So that meant he was being treated differently, separately, and because of that, as with segregation, that kind of law is immoral. That kind of law is unjust. That was King's argument. Segregation as a whole was obviously immoral and unjust, partly because it separated people based upon race, but more importantly because it treated different people as less than others in terms of citizenship. So African Americans in the South were not considered full citizens. They were required to go to different schools, use different drinking water fountains, restrooms, libraries. They had to sit at the back of buses. They had to use different rail cars. All of these things taken together sent a signal to African Americans that they could not be were not to be treated as equal, were not to be seen as the same as all of the other people who lived in the South at that time. Segregation then was definitely what King would call an unjust law or unjust regime. So that required protest. That required the fighting back against that. My question at this point for you guys, as you're working on this essay, and you're asking questions like, would you violate the law if you thought the law was wrong? Do you think that obeying laws at all times is necessary? Do you believe that authority is always right? So the question I would ask of you is, can we apply King's paradigm or King's set of definitions to any other issues or to any other decisions that you have to make in your life? I'll be asking you about, for instance, the gubernatorial order that has us doing this virtually, right? So we are being told to stay at home. Authorities are saying stay at home, and they're giving us a rationale. Is that just? Okay, I'll leave that to you. You can kind of figure it out, and we'll move on from King in this presentation onto Thoreau. We're going to talk about Eric Fromm. Those are our three main authors that we're interested in. But I also want to talk about Edward Abbey and his theory about monkey wrenching, which essentially is vandalism. Is that ever okay? And so on. So we'll continue to talk about this, but for now, this video is part of the, it's being attached to the King section. So more to come.